stubborn soda with some white wine. It's delicious.
Mixity-doo-dah.
Yeah. I also tested a joke out before we got out here. We're stubborn shorties, so yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. It wouldn't test well with you.
Well, thanks for coming and getting all the free hors d'oeuvres, which looks like everybody cleaned up house over there.
Looks good.
We're here. We don't live here. We did. We used to live in New York. So thanks for having us back.
Yes.
We used to live in Brooklyn, and it
About
was,
10 years ago.
Yeah. Now we live in the mountains of North Carolina. We have escaped the madness of your city.
After we left Brooklyn, we moved to LA because that's the natural progression of people in the entertainment industry. But we very quickly discovered that we hated LA. So it's always been a dream to live in this part of North Carolina, specifically Asheville. So it took us a while, but because of the success of ThreadBanger, we were able to move there, and all we need is the internet and a bunch of ridiculous ideas.
Yeah. We have, just as of a couple days ago, we celebrated our 10-year, decade-long presence on YouTube, which you clap, I cry.
Yeah.
But it has been a long, tumultuous road of tumultuous.
Yeah, it's close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough. They know what you're saying.
Yeah, craziness. So 10 years ago, what were you doing? It was a long time ago. 2007. You barely even knew what YouTube was. It was just kind of coming up fresh on the market. We told people at that point in time that we made videos for the internet. Which people translated obviously just into porn because that was the...
Not only did we make videos for the internet, but we did it from our apartment. So all of our neighbors were like, what? And then they never talked to us.
They would look through the windows, there'd be like lights set up like at all weird times in the morning. We'd be blowing things up and they'd be like, what is happening in that house?
That's a weird porno.
So it is. So it's been a crazy long road, and I guess how we kind of got started. Anyone seen the show before? Before this? Okay, good.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks. We kind of started off. I guess if you want to go back into the throes of it, of how we met.
Yes, that's always interesting.
Go into the hippie bus.
So first of all, we were introduced by a mutual friend who still lives in the city. She used to live in Miami and went to high school with Rob, and then she moved to Orlando, and that's where I met her. And throughout years of our friendship, she would always be like, you have to meet Rob, you have to meet Rob, I think you would really like him. But I always had a boyfriend. I was like, whatever. So she would say the same thing to Rob.
I always had a girlfriend.
Yeah. Nope. So he came to visit one time in Orlando, and I was actually at my boyfriend's house. So it was really funny that he was in my apartment, like looking at all my stuff. Yeah. But then 6 years later, we actually really hung out for the first time, and it was love at first sight.
Well,
it was. But I was dating somebody else, so I had to dump him, and then.
But I kind of started my online video career way before YouTube, and started working for a company which maybe some people remember called America Online.
Burn.
And I was a reporter for rock bands, or rock tours. So I would go on to like the Ozfest or Warped Tour, and I would live on a bus with a bunch of rock stars and interview them and record their shows.
What year was that?
That was 2003.
So he was one of the first video bloggers, but
there's a lot of people that
did
take
it through
credit
a
for
company,
that.
so it's not as substantial if you did it on your own. But yeah.
And so,
cool.
if you've ever seen like Almost Famous, that was like pretty much my life.
You were the dorky kid on the bus?
Totally.
Yeah.
Reporter asking everybody, all the cool rock stars for an interview, and just getting shoved aside. And
didn't you make out with Gerard Butler?
Yeah, a couple rock stars. It was a weird time.
At least it was on camera.
It was a weird time. And so when we met, Corinne was actually living on a bus that ran on recycled vegetable oil.
With 11 other hippies.
And she was making documentary short films about sustainability and alternative fuels, alternative lifestyles, and traveling around. So we kind of had this natural chemistry of like this love for creating short videos and documentaries.
He told me all the right camera to get and the right computer to edit stuff on. So.
However, she was not a fan of me living my life like almost famous.
No, not on a rock and roll tour.
No.
What was it, like 30 cities?
Yeah, 30 cities, 50 days.
He invited me on. The problem was he invited me on for one of the days, and I got to ride on the bus from one location to another in his tiny little bunk. And I saw what went on this tour, and I was like, oh, hell no. Like, we can't be in a relationship and this be happening. So he came with me on the hippie bus, and it was really funny.
So then we started making...
Hippie Rob.
Yeah, then I went from punk rock to hippie. We started making videos. Fast forward, we ended up in Florida and just kind of making these weird little films together. A friend of mine had called and said that there was a company hiring for, to make new videos for the internet, just some other random job lead.
I think it was the year YouTube started.
Yeah, 2006, or maybe, 2006. And so we started to develop concepts around what we would want, potentially this YouTube series to look like, short form content. It was 2 or 3 minutes long.
We came up with over 100 different ideas that we pitched to this company, and they were like, nope, to all of them. All of those ideas suck.
However, we came in, I came in kind of like coming from a punk rock background. I had like, my shirt was cut and like had like, stencils and safety pins, and Corinne had like
crazy vintage, like bright green, and my purse was like, I had made it myself and it was covered with buttons. It was like totally weird. And
so they had kind of like, they were like, all right, well that kind of seems like a perfect, this is a show that you haven't pitched us yet. How about you guys creating a show about how you make things? Like obviously you're decked out in your own clothes and you've done your own thing, like made your own stuff, like why don't you do a show about that? So
it was like a light bulb moment.
Yeah, and we were like, oh yeah, that's like a natural fit. Obviously, doesn't stray too far away from what we're already doing. And so hence ThreadBanger was born. And unfortunately, it was through somebody else's own dime and somebody else's own company. So
they owned it.
We didn't have our own YouTube channel like to call our own immediately. We went into making probably for the next 5 years 500 videos or so.
For this company.
And not, I don't think any of them really breached 20,000, 25,000 views.
I think we had a couple that made it to 100,000 back in the day when YouTube had a front page that they would feature videos on. So those would get like a couple 100,000. But other than that, we were sad. Every time we put a video out, we were like, why are we even doing this? No one's watching it.
And I mean, I guess when you're, back then, 15, 20,000 views is like, significant, but nothing significant as of now, where people put up videos and they get millions of views.
Also, I think it's worth it to talk about how the company, when they started, their main goal was to have 100 different networks, all in different niche categories. So ours would be the DIY sewing category, and then they had a car channel. They had, they were trying to fill basically every niche with different shows. So, I think we got all the people that actually made their own clothing to watch the show. There's about 30,000 of those people in the world. And they watched the ones with internet. And that's all we were getting, So we really had to figure out, back up a little bit. We got laid off. They decided to sell the company. So they sold the company to YouTube, and then our ThreadBanger was now a YouTube property, and that is very rare. They don't own a lot of channels like that outside of YouTube Red. It was way before that happened, but so we really couldn't make any decisions. We didn't get the AdSense from that channel. We couldn't take brand deals. It was this whole thing. So Rob had to get a soul-sucking job at a management company in LA. I did a lot of freelance work, and then finally they came to us and were like, listen, we want to kind of reinvigorate these channels and use them so we can get research for YouTube and like really figure out how creators work and operate. So they started the lab channels, bless you. And so it's Vsauce, all the Vsauce channels, Barely Political, which is now known as Barely Digital, and ThreadBanger, which are pretty large channels, So we still have meetings with them all the time, like, what do you think about this new product that's happening?
We're like tests.
Yeah.
We were
lab rats is what
for
we
a few
called
years. We were
ourselves.
lab rats
Yeah.
for YouTube. So any new products, any new things that kind of came, any new developments, comments, end cards, annotations, whatever, they would kind of test. We would test them first for them as these guinea pigs.
And then we would give them our unfiltered opinions just based on about everything on the platform. And it really feels like we have had a hand in helping shape the platform. So that's pretty cool.
As of last year, they finally, after 9 years, gave us and relinquished all of the rights to our content and all of our stuff. And we have become free agents in the YouTube world.
And it happened at a time right when we were blowing up. So it was like, okay, you're giving us this certain amount of money to cover production costs and like continue making the show, but it was like a little drop in the bucket compared to what the channel was making in AdSense. So like it was the perfect timing for us. We're like, yes, give us the channel back right now.
The biggest kind of I guess takeaway point is for years we did the same. We were to hashtag it stubborn. We were just kind of doing the same. We were stubborn, just kind of doing the same thing. Like over and over and over again.
We'd repackage it in different like packaging and put different music to it, but essentially it was the same content.
Just sewing.
Content. Yeah.
Boring sewing. It was just like nobody wanted to watch it, and so we did a 180. We were like, this is going to be like the last year because we're not making any money off of this. This is going to be the last year that we do ThreadBanger. We better just like put the pedal to the metal, change things up.
Yeah.
And
we were also pretty vanilla. Like we were not really showcasing our personalities.
I wasn't blowing my hand off.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
We weren't cursing. We weren't kind of showing our real personalities.
Yeah, exactly.
It was all kind of just a show that we thought maybe would go over on the internet really well. Turns out it didn't.
It was before its time. Now it's a different.
That's what we say. It was before its time.
It was.
But within a couple years ago, we changed that format and
pivoted, as they like to say.
And we started a couple new shows, which kind of came out of pure accident. We would create all these DIY projects, and when you're making stuff, you always mess up. You're doing like the first time that you do it is a total fail, and then you have to do it like 3 or 4 times before it actually like looks even decent enough to film and put on camera. And so
But you don't show any of that.
No.
Like, I made this perfect thing first time.
That wasn't because then people are going to watch it. They just want to know, they just want to learn how to make it.
Yeah.
So they're not interested in at least that's what we thought. They
Yeah.
weren't interested in the whole backstory of how you actually get to that finished product, which was hours, if not days, if not weeks of figuring out how to do it.
Yeah.
And so there was, when you're making YouTube videos, there's a very quick turnaround. You're making videos every 2 to 3 days. You're putting them out. You've got to conceptualize them. You've got to write them, host them, shoot them, edit them, get them out.
Yeah.
And there was this one project that I was doing that just was.
It was not working.
Just every turn was just a nightmare.
But then you kind of find out that this thing that someone put on the internet isn't true. Like, they're giving us the wrong instructions.
Yeah, there was just, if you've ever been to Pinterest or things ever show up in your feed, tasty videos and whatnot.
Do
it's
these
like
3 steps and you have this amazing thing.
Here's a picture and it's awesome and it's lit really well and it's spinning around on a plate and you're like, I could totally do that. Like, I'm gonna make that for dinner tonight and it's gonna be delicious. And that's just not the way it works. And so I was on a timeline and the deadline to get this video out. And I was just super frustrated. I was trying to antique a mirror, which like is a lot of chemicals and a lot of.
It's crazy.
And so, at the last minute, like I dropped the mirror and it shattered into 1,000 pieces. And I was like, I have to put this video out tomorrow, and I have no idea what to do. And then Corinne was, you just got to put it up there. You've got to show.
Like, show them that you couldn't do it.
That this was a failure, and that's. Put it out on the internet, and literally it was almost like an overnight change where it was like people were like, oh, this is kind of like
cool.
funny, and I thought that I could do that, but I guess I can't.
But it's funny just to watch you fail too, so they're like, now Rob's become the like, he's always gonna fail because he doesn't really read the instructions or anything, and he may blow his hand off.
But so it went literally, it hockey sticked, and it went from we went from doing 500,000 views a month to doing 25 million views a month within 6 months,
Yeah.
and it just went like up, and we were like,
We
oh,
grew by
this.
4,000% in 1 year, which is almost like unfathomable. You know, you can't even think about that number.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
blew our minds, you know, and we were like, all right, well, we've obviously stumbled across something that is, you know, pure and true to the audience, and that is like, this is how you really do it.
And we also, what we like to say we did is we put the you back in YouTube. We really inserted our personalities back into the mix, and that's what really changed it.
That there's, you know, now there's a lot of people who come up to us and, you know, friends, family, people who want to get on YouTube. You know, everyone wants to make a YouTube channel.
Of course.
And this is the takeaway. You can tell everybody which is the title. It's right in the title. YouTube. It's right there. It is like in front of everybody's face, but they don't know that. We didn't know that.
I mean, there could be 100 grilled cheese, how to make a grilled cheese videos on YouTube, but they don't care about that. They just want to see us do it because they like our personality, and Rob will probably burn himself.
Or go to an imaginary farm where they have rainbow cows and
exactly.
create rainbow cheese.
Yeah.
It's like the stupidest idea that I was
Yeah.
like, this is just going to be brilliant.
Right.
Like, but at the same time,
pretty
just
funny.
stupid. And it was like one of, you know, a really popular video of ours, and it kind of like got us into that realm of like, you don't know what. There's all these projects that are so popular, but you don't know what ThreadBanger is going to be doing. It's a surprise, you know. At the end of the video, it's always a twist or something.
And that's how we're always thinking of it. Like, we'll do this project, we'll only do a project if we can find a good hook for the ending.
And that's, you know, people will come back because they're like, oh, whatever, I've seen a million videos about how to make edible slime on YouTube, you know. It's like, and there's all these like trends that people will do. But it was like, all right, well, if we're gonna make edible slime, I'm going to make a 5-course dinner with edible slime, and then I'm gonna feed Corinne the edible slime instead of like telling her that I'm making dinner. You know, we're gonna eat the slime instead. Slime steaks and milkshakes, and
It was disgusting.
it was terrible. But it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, we'll teach you how to do it, but then we're just gonna flip the script and do this completely other, this different thing that you didn't even see coming out of right field.
Yeah.
And that's how we've approached all of our content for the last couple years, is to really give them that extra push of the unexpected.
And we both have our own distinct styles and personalities, obviously. So it's really great because we're kind of yin and yang. Like, he really doesn't read the instructions and can't figure it out and blows things up and cuts his hand off. But I'm like really meticulous about reading the instructions. So when I can't get something right, like, it's super frustrating because I've tried really hard.
She'll try it 1,700 times, but show you the 1,699 ways that she got there.
Yeah.
Which could make for a long video, but at the same time,
They like that content long nowadays, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime we put out a bit, it's like when YouTube first started, it's like 3 to 5 minutes. That's the sweet spot. Can't go over 5 minutes. Now it's like, you made a video that's 5 minutes. This was such a waste of my time. What is happening? Like, they ran out of ideas. It's just over. Their channel's over. You get like comments like that. It's like, okay, sorry.
The real interesting thing about YouTube is obviously the engagement. You could watch Game of Thrones every weekend, and somebody's gonna die, some crazy thing's gonna happen, but there's no way that you can.
You can't talk to the author and be like, hey dude, maybe you can like keep that character around longer because I really like them. You don't have that back and forth with the creator of Game of Thrones.
But on YouTube, you do, and it's as simple as leaving a comment in the comment section, which we read, and which creators normally read.
And which we cry over. Hold on, I need more wine.
You get your terrible comments in there every once in a while, but we've fostered a community which really lets us know what they want to see on our show, and I almost say
what projects they want us to try is the easiest one. And that, we're like, this is cheating. Like,
totally
we don't even have to come up with ideas because we know what the popular project is based on what has been liked up 1,000 times.
And all we had to do was ask them.
Yeah.
And every week we ask them, what do you want to see next? And they will give us some kind of weird random project which is trending on the internet.
We don't even know what that is because we're old. Like, we're almost 40, So it's like, they don't know that. They think we're like soups young. Hence the purple hair. Hence the tattoos and the purple hair. If they knew, they'd be like, oh Lord, we gotta go. She's as old as my mom is. This is not happening.
This is going on the internet.
It's fine, it's fine.
Oh, the secret's out. Cat's out of the bag.
The younger ones don't watch stuff like this, educational. Yeah. No. But it's really interesting to try to keep up with that, we're trying to be young and have all this energy, but we can't pull,
10 years ago, we
Yeah.
were pumping out YouTube videos left and right. Now it's like
pulling all-nighters.
a lot of coffee.
No, now it's like, we're tired. We're going to bed at 9. Yeah.
But really, you know, cracking the code of asking your audience, you know, what they want to see, how they feel about a certain piece of content. You know, it's all there. Whether it's a like button or a dislike button, like you are going to get their opinion whether or not you like it or not at the end of the day, and it may completely throw your world for a loop for the next, you know, 72 hours until you cover up that video with something else.
They like to harp on the one thing that you're like, oh man, I really thought that was just going to slide right under the radar, and it never does.
They see all. They know all.
Exactly. But you just learn from that. And also, you know, of course, we've all run across terrible YouTube comments and things that have nothing to do with the content and more that the commenter is like upset with their own life. And, you know, so you have to take that into consideration a lot, especially when it's about your appearance or anything like that. Like that stuff can really scar you and like get really deep down, even if it's one and you're like, it was one comment out of 10,000, but that one comment keeps you awake at night. So we have been, I guess, getting better at like letting that roll off our backs, but it's still really hard. It's hard.
Yeah, when you're putting yourself out there, you know, and especially you've got
Cried a couple times.
More than a couple times.
I quit.
But you know, it's definitely after 10 years we've been able to foster this relationship that is they know that we are completely open to their opinions and their comments, so they give it to us, and usually they're like we'll
just become more constructive about it.
We'll delete any bad comments. Right. Like I know that there's maybe like a freedom of speech thing that, you know, people are thinking.
This is a dictatorship on the YouTube comment section.
No,
this is not a democracy.
If it's any sort of bullying or any sort of thing that's like, you know, nasty comments, like those get removed. You know, and I don't think like people shouldn't be afraid to like get that out of the, you know, get them because that's how it fosters like.
It just breeds. Like the negativity will just breed and breed and breed if you don't kind of like monitor. But like what you were saying before, the community, because they love you so much, will do that for you. So they'll fight those fights for you. And hopefully it's like before you get to see the comment. Because it can be really like, you're just like, why? What did I do? Yeah. Yeah. But for every terrible comment, there's 100 great comments, and that's what keeps you going. I guess that's like the stubbornness of it all. Actually, one of it is like, I didn't re-dye my hair for a year because they kept, oh, you need to re-dye your hair. That looks terrible. Like, totally just like really mean, you know? So I'm like, no, now I'm not gonna re-dye my hair ever again. This is a science experiment now. We're gonna let this roll out for as long as we can.
She just got it done yesterday for all of you lovely people. So.
Yeah, but I actually made a video on my personal, we both have personal channels, and I made a video where I mention every terrible comment about my hair as I'm re-dyeing my hair and just kind of reacting to them, but it felt good to put them on blast, you know, and like, you can't just do that without some repercussions.
Now they know that there's repercussions, that you're going to be put out there.
Because every single comment on that video was like, I actually really liked your hair like that. It looked like a mermaid.
Totally turns it around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
But you know, also, you know, things that keep us going. We will get, you know, tons of fan mail and emails, and we got this one not too long ago, which is a tearjerker, but we always put, you know, it's how-to videos or DIY, do-it-yourself videos. And so there was this kid that was literally looking up how to kill himself on the internet. And you can apparently find videos about this on YouTube. But instead, our videos came up with how-to in the titles. So he started watching our videos, and then began like making some of the projects that we were making, and kind of like completely derailed this whole train of thought of like how to kill himself. And so he wrote this like crazy email that was like, you literally saved my life. And it was like the eye-opening moment of like, oh, like we've been doing this for, at that point was like, you know, 7-8 years, and we were at the point where we were still getting 20,000-30,000 views on something, and
we were like ready to give up.
And it was like, this is the reason why, you know, you put yourself out there and you do that, is because there's so many of these, you know, there's so many kids and there's so many, you know, people that are watching these videos that have absolutely, you don't know where they're coming from or where they are
you just never know
in the world, and it's this amazing it's this amazing, valuable feeling that you get off of like, oh, like I actually did something that if it was just for this one kid out there, like this whole decade was worth making these videos. And that's like literally how after 10 years we can go on, because let me tell you, 10 years of doing the same thing is crazy.
Especially when you're working with somebody that you live and love and,
gonna
want to
say
be in a relationship with, that you want to be nice to on a daily basis.
Right.
Like, it's really, the filter is gone. You can come into your office and you're never going to say to someone you work with, like, oh, why'd you do that like that? Like, you're not going to talk to them like that. But like, that filter is gone when you're in a relationship, so you can be a lot more like harsh with each other. And we've really had to work through that in the past. We've been together for now 13 years. So, it's taken a long time. We finally, I would say even 2 years ago, really found our groove with working together.
And the groove was
making separate videos.
Totally.
We, again, not to sound really brand friendlier, but we are super stubborn. Like, we're both Aquarius, and that's one of the, not that I'm like totally into that, but we are super stubborn. So we would fight over dumb things like, here's a 5-second transition from one shot to another shot. I'd be like, no, that transition's terrible. And he's like, well, I want this transition. I'm like, let's bring out the gauntlets. Like, I'm throwing the gauntlet down. Like,
oh, you're gonna
we're
use
gonna
that
fight
music?
over, yeah,
No,
yeah,
you
exactly.
can't use that music. And then
Over a like 10-second track that has nothing to do with anything. But it's like, we're done. Our relationship's over.
if the outtakes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
There's some outtakes, like, thank God there's no way, because we used mini DV tapes when we first started. It wasn't digital yet. So we have thousands of mini DV tapes with hours and hours of just us fighting, probably. Like, we would start the show and be like, are you gonna, we're just so annoyed. And they're like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Yeah.
We would always like, we were so edgy, we would kind of shoot on the streets. We like, our backgrounds were
Oh my
always
God.
like,
It was
we
so stressful.
wanted to shoot in front of graffiti.
In Brooklyn.
So we would literally like just be on the streets of Brooklyn with like a camera and like us in front of like some cool thing, like going back and forth with these like super scripted lines, which is not
and
what
our
you,
lobs and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like people are just walking by.
But it'd be like, hey guys, what's up? And it'd be like, bus, car,
sirens,
students that are very loud.
people that are now just awkwardly staring at us in the middle of the street.
Go away.
And
Go away.
so it's we went from New York. We
Stress-inducing.
went from then to Los Angeles, and we recently moved to a small town in North Carolina called Asheville, which we have been able to pay the same amount of money that we were paying for a 1-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles. We now have a house in North Carolina that we can, we have a backyard so that I can blow things up in. We have a kitchen that we can now like officially shoot things in.
And that created a new show.
Yeah.
2 new shows. Yeah.
And so we were able to kind of get the space that we had always needed for our projects by just getting out of the monotony of living in. We literally had a camera, and if you could like pivot it 360, it would be like kitchen, studio, living room, bedroom, bathroom,
and they were all sets.
Everything was a set.
Yeah.
And so it took us like now we have grown from just the both of us to we have 4 employees now that are editors, straight out of college, and helping kind of like foster a community out in the middle of North Carolina.
Like, creating jobs, I think, is one of the most like fulfilling things. I don't know, but it's also super scary because now these people rely on you for work every week, and you want to make sure that you have enough work for them. So that's kind of put more, I guess, fire under us to like be creating as much as we can. So we're shooting all the time. And it's really hard.
It's
it's hard.
To make YouTube videos is sure you're gonna watch them and they're gonna be 5 to 10 minutes long, but the obvious effort that it takes to like put behind all of that, a lot of people don't know. A lot of you are in media, a lot of you are maybe in production. You kind of know the backstory of what it takes to make a commercial or something. It's obvious. It's months of writing and shooting and finding directors and lighting and technicians.
Our favorite thing is when someone emails us and like, can you just do a quick video for us? And like, that's cool,
show me how to do this. I'm like, no.
No.
Not that quick.
Yeah.
And so it's we put out 3 videos a week, which really turns into...
On a good week.
Yeah.
Sometimes the project ends up taking like way longer than we thought it was going to. Macarons.
Yeah, we tried making... we'll try making like things that are like very commonplace that you would think that you could do. Like,
yeah, and you're like, this is gonna be no problem. Got it.
I've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah, they're like, no.
No.
I'll never eat a macaron again.
So it's literally like a constant struggle, because then you've got to keep up with these 20-year-old kids that are just in their like dorm rooms or living with their parents. They have not a worry in the world.
I mean, then you have PewDiePie that's just like every day making, has a new video out. And I don't know, it's mind-boggling.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
But we have persevered. I think 2 more years. That's all I'm giving it.
Well,
Otherwise, I'm just my brain is going to explode if I have to follow whatever new trends come out on the internet. It's every week. It's this week. It's like how to make butter slime. It's like what? Like exactly. I don't even know what that is.
See, I like that you do those projects because I am like, no, I'm not making slime. But I think that's what kind of infuses it. Like I only do stuff where I feel like I'm going to be really challenged by it. Hence the macaroons. But I think that's what keeps it really interesting. Like you do all those trendy type things, and
that's why you've got to insert your personality to a certain degree, but you've also got to follow along with the kind of the same things that everybody else are doing to keep on trend, because it's search, it's algorithms, it's metadata, it's the whole internet behind the scenes that you don't understand how it all happens, but I think we've figured it out.
I think what's the funniest thing in the comments that you can get is like, you have spent a week making this video and then you upload it, and just out of coincidence, Shane Dawson has uploaded the same project on the same day. They're like, you copied Shane. Like, what? Mm-hmm. The videos were both uploaded today. Like, I didn't make this in an hour.
Within 6 hours of each other.
I wasn't able to shoot, edit, it's just really funny, the perception of the audience, how long they think things take, and it takes a lot longer.
But I'll tell you what, after we won a Shorty Award, things even took off even
Hockey
further.
sticked again, yeah.
So we're on our second wave within 10 years.
But yeah, you say, you give it another 2 years. I think that's something we've noticed too about the big YouTubers, and we've seen this kind of lifespan happen with almost every YouTuber. It's like they have their really great, growth, and then they kind of plateau, and then they start going down in views, and we don't find ourselves any different than any of those YouTubers. So we know there will come a time when the views start going down, and it's like, what do you do in that sense? You have to kind of plan for that, and I don't think a lot of people really plan for that. We sound like total grandmas when we talk about it. I'm like, save all your money, like, don't buy that car, that's stupid, you don't need that car.
You won't be famous forever.
Yeah, we get emails from this one girl who she has a great YouTube channel, but a lot of things happened and her views just totally tanked. And she had just bought a house on a lake, and her dream car, and like all of this. She's like, what do I do? I'm like, sell that shit and I don't know. Start over. Burn it all down.
The craziest thing on that is YouTube has like very complex algorithms that they're always changing, and like you literally can be on fire 1 month and then just completely be off the radar the next.
Yeah.
And that's something that we definitely don't take for granted. Where we're at and what we're doing, but again, knowing that there is an inevitability of something happening, and it gives you the spark to put it all on the line every single day, to get it all out there, and make it the best for as long as you're riding on that wave, which is where we're at today, I guess. Riding this wave. We've got almost 5 million subscribers, still doing almost 30-40 million views a month, and ushering in and watching all of these new YouTubers come in that completely copy all of our stuff, and you're like, all right, this is what happens.
Yeah.
And so we're
you have to adapt or die, I think, is what like Shane Dawson has
another popular YouTuber.
He has been able to maintain this popularity throughout his 10-year career on YouTube, and it's pretty remarkable. Not many YouTubers can do that. Like, he started out and was super popular, and now he's still every day putting out a video, and each video gets 2 million views, just
we
right
got,
off the bat, you know.
But that's also,
But like 7 videos a week, it's insanity.
Books, TV, movie. That's like you eventually have to like move into this whole realm. I'm just good at making YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I don't know. We had to do the whole getting agents and managers and the whole shebang, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
They're like, write a book and write a movie and make a TV show. I'm like, I'm making
Make some more time.
I'm making 3 videos a
Build
week over here.
A time machine. That would be great. Yeah, exactly.
But
hard.
but we love what we do,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the
Yeah.
the focus is finally figuring out that voice and just
Just the freedom too of not like being able to have a creative job that you get to make all the decisions on is just invaluable. Like every day I'm so grateful that we can work from our house and make our own schedule and come
Do
up with
things
our
like
own
this.
ideas. Yeah. And that was something from the very early on in our relationship. We were both very set on that. Like, we don't want to work for anybody else. We want to do our own thing. And that's kind of like how this was born, because we didn't want to work in an office, basically.
and how it will all die.
With working in a cubicle in an office. Yeah.
I don't know if I have anything else to say. I'm going to look at my notes over here.
Should we start questions?
Yeah.
Cool.
Can we do a little bit of
Yeah.
a round of applause?
Thank you.
The Shorty Awards are underway.
Grammys for people who sound good. And for social media, we've got the Shorty Award.
May I have the envelope, please? Thank you. Periscoper of the Year.
Vine of the Year.
The Snapchatter of the Year.
For YouTuber of the Year.
The best Instagrammer goes to...
Oh, this is gonna be like the Oscars.